If Gege Akutami didn't nerf Gojo, he would have defeated Sukuna. Or at least that's what some people are thinking. And Luis Torres, thank you for the sponsored video. Listen, y'all know I love Gojo. People keep calling me the Gojo Glazer, but this just isn't true. You could argue that Gojo lost a plot because he just couldn't beat Sukuna because story-wise it wouldn't make sense. But to say that he was actually nerfed is definitely not true. He literally pulled out all the stops. He stated this himself. We even saw him use techniques that we assumed he probably had but never saw up until his battle against Sukuna because Sukuna was just that oppressive. Abilities like Simple Domain, Falling Blossom Motion, and even the ability to change the conditions of his domain expansion, which we hadn't seen before. So if anyone were to try to argue that he was nerfed, they would need to show that he somehow performed weaker in his battle against Sukuna than they did against other people. Which absolutely isn't true because everyone else he fought was weaker than Sukuna and he steamrolled every single one of them. And every technique he used against other people, he used against Sukuna, it's just that it wasn't effective. Sukuna bypassed his Infinity with Domain Amplification because his refinement was better than Jogo's and Hanami's. He also beat Gojo's domain because his domain is open, which we saw previously in the story as well, that the outside is actually weak to attacks when Yuji broke into Mahito's. Sukuna using Mahoraga to be able to counter Infinity, we also knew was possible too, because in Shibuya, it was stated that Mahoraga can adapt to anything. Not only that, but even Gojo himself stated that the previous heads of the clan of the Zenin and Gojo clan actually fought to a stalemate and were both unalived, and Megumi rightfully assumed it was because of Mahoraga. And let's not forget that Gojo actually almost won multiple different times. But in the end, he still had the goal of trying to save Megumi, and you could argue that this may or may not have held him back slightly, but that doesn't mean he was, again, nerfed. Despite everyone jumping into the mix, Gojo has still performed the absolute best against Sukuna so far. And again, I say so far because clearly Yuji does have the ability to take out Sukuna, or at least that's what he says, and it's probably going to happen. And even then, you could still make an argument that he probably didn't perform as well as Gojo because this Sukuna is still a severely weakened version of Sukuna. So all that just again to say that Gojo wasn't nerfed at all. He did his very best and he took Sukuna to his last legs by himself with no help, and that in itself is a great feat. But at the end of the day, Sukuna was simply smarter and better.